welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, the first one of 2025 after a short break. We're glad to be back. As always, we're here to talk all things estate agency, and I'm joined by my colleagues, James Kendall and Ian Story. Lads, I'm not going to ask you how your week's been, how's your Christmas been, and how's your start been to the new year. Let's go to you, Ian Story, because you're on my left on my screen.
Oh, we had a lovely time, thank you. We always close the office over Christmas. So we closed on the Friday before Christmas Eve and then didn't reopen until the 2nd. So that we always do that with the team so they get a nice full break. And I also took off the 2 days last week as well. So I didn't actually start back until Monday. So I had a good over 2 weeks off, which was lovely.
Rumour has it that you went sledging on Monday morning, mate. So
I did. You're right. I had another half day because it snowed. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to take the kids sledging because I had no appointments on Monday. So we did that at Delamere Forest, which was lovely. Always doing a little bit of hustling over Christmas. Managed to get a couple of vals booked from people I was chatting to just generally over Christmas. We had a stonking end to the year with sales and listings just before Christmas. Some really nice stuff tied up and some really nice listings in the bag. And we had a lovely time. Lovely time, thank you. Went to Centre Park for 3 days. Nice. Love it there. It was very, very good. And then we've had a great start coming back. First couple of days, we had viewings booked on stuff north of a mill. Phil got a really good listing, really nice barn conversion, 500,000, 2%, where the gold dust lies. And I got a really good one this week at 1.5, also 2% off the back of our not on the market letters. They've been looking at us for 2 or 3 years. They know of us. They've been on the market with another agent, hasn't worked. And have come to us. So it's interesting that even though we call them not on the market letters, they do, of course, target what's on the market as well. So you do get stuff coming directly off them, which is, that is just a superb listing for us. It's a Tarpley office listing, so it further grows us in that area. Nice part of the world. So all good, really. It's Martha's birthday today as well, chaps.
Nice.
It's
birthday.
10. Thank you. 10, which is absolutely mental, and it's reframed things a bit for me, Martha turning 10, because it makes you think, fucking hell, life just goes so quickly. It's unbelievable. I can't believe she's 10. So we're going ice skating topically later on at an ice rink, not in the garden, and then for tea in Altrincham later on. So
nice.
It's good, lads. Also today, actually, we're starting our YouTube channel. So we've set up a little studio, which you can probably see behind me in the office. We've got young Philip over there, who's obviously going to be doing the filming as well. And we are going to put out weekly content on our YouTube and really grow it as like an advice channel for home sellers and for other agents as well to learn from. So that starts today. Scott, our photographer, videographer, is coming in here and we're going to do some filming. So good, exciting start to the year. Pipeline's really good. Valuations, loads of valuations booked since we came back. Consistency is the watchword this year now for us, making sure we're consistent with everything. And I've really got to focus on the front end of the business and the service that people are receiving to keep us ahead of the competition. But generally speaking, everything's good. How about you, JK?
Yeah, good. Nice to have a break over Christmas. Spend some time with the kids. Similar to you, we closed on the Friday. I think we probably closed a little bit too early this year, if I'm honest, because we still had quite a bit going on. So we probably could have done with that extra Monday because there was a little bit that I was sort of loose ends I was trying to sort of tie up on the Monday where other people had kind of come back to us, which is a bit frustrating. But it's just nice to have the team to have a nice break and come back kind of refreshed and rejuvenated. So I picked up that. So I think maybe for next year, we'll probably go to the 23rd, possibly. But no, good end to the year. Similar to you, lots of interest in December. I think the stamp duty changes in April have really kind of pushed the market on. I think it will be an interesting year this year, a year of probably two halves, depending on what happens politically and what happens, with the economy. But looking at where everything's at the moment, it looks like the first half of the year is going to be really good. We've come back. We booked 21 valuations since last Thursday, which is incredible, really. Our letters haven't gone out yet as well. We would try to get our letters out before we left, and we've got 10,000 just shy of 10,000 that we're due to get out in the next 7 days. So it'll be interesting to see what that generates. Sales fairly. We've had, obviously there's a huge amount of positive going on. We had a load of completions. We've just sold one yesterday at 1.2. Another one away at sort of 517, sort of that mid range. Couple of bits and pieces, other plates spinning. But we had 3 million quid's worth of fall throughs in the first week, which is, but I mean that's effectively 4 sales. When you deal in the sort of mid to high end, the highs are high and the lows are low. But it is what it is. There's plenty of other sort of positive stuff going on that's that makes us feel good. But it's awful, having Christmas and Happy New Year. Yeah, by the way, your buyers pulled out. It's not a great. Pardon me, it's not a great call to make. But it is what it is. As I said to them, look, stuff happens, and it's how you react to it. The market's good. There's a lot more activity at the upper end. So let's just see it as a delay rather than a complete death. They appreciated the words and this, that, and the other. It's just devastating when things like that happen. But overarching, sort of fairly feel good factor. New person started in the office. We'll obviously talk about that later. But overall good start and pretty good. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, good, thanks. So we closed on, we ended up closing on the 23rd. And I took a break all the way through. But I have to say, we talked about it in the build-up to Christmas. I always look forward to December in a way that I can get a bit of time back to myself. And it's generally a bit quieter. You get that opportunity to plan for the following year and review what's gone on and really get organised. But I have to say, I think this last December just gone was probably one of my busiest ever. And I ended up personally working all the way up to sort of Christmas Eve, if I'm honest. I did quite a bit on that day because I just needed to get back to people. So it was very, very busy, good busy, I have to say. And obviously it coincided with us getting all the letters out and things like that. So yeah, it was brilliant. But that period, period between Christmas Eve switching off and on New Year, I'm not sure I was ready to come back. I'll be honest. I had a great time. It was nice to spend a bit of time off with the family. It's one of those, isn't it, where the team don't need to get hold of you for any reason. You're not really hearing from your clients over Christmas because it's just a universal "we've all switched off" kind of thing.
Great time, good time to go on holiday, really.
It's really good. So in terms of sort of spending it with the family and not having any stresses and things like that, I really, really enjoyed it. And of course, monitoring the emails throughout, and it was nice to see some valuation leads dropping in and things like that. So overall, lads, it has been very good. I've really enjoyed the break and come back nowhere near the 21 valuations they are at, JK. That's incredible. But we've got booked a healthy number of valuations in the first few days, which is nice. We've got quite a few viewings booked in, just looking at my screen. So it feels busy. It does feel busy. I'm at 2 take-ons today. And we've got quite a few instructions lined up for January. Healthy pipeline, so everything is set up. So we just need to now make sure that we carry it out. And obviously, before we sort of started with press record, we were talking about some plans for the year, which we'll come on to, no doubt. So I think getting into it, this podcast really doesn't have a topic as such, other than. It was kind of, we're back to it, and we just wanted to talk about, obviously, I think what our plans are for the year, where your focuses lie. Ian, you've alluded to something there. JK, I know you've got some plans as well, and you made a recent hire at your place. So I think it'd just be good, lads, to have a general chit chat about what your focuses are for the year, because it'll be different for everybody. I don't think there's any, it's not the same for everybody. Everybody comes back, and it's kind of like lead generation. Trying to get as many properties on the market as you can, get some sales in, maybe nail a few reductions, get started. I think one mistake that people have is that they're on that merry-go-round, aren't they, where they don't have a lead gen strategy. And we've all been there. You're just constantly looking for your next instruction, looking for your next sale, and it's really, really busy, and then it gets quiet, and then you're worried because there's nothing coming in, and then you get back to being busy again. And I think that this time of year is a really good time. Obviously we spoke about it in December, but now is a really great time to get yourself set up for success throughout the year. So do you know what your lead gen strategy is going to be for the entire year? What is it? What does it look like? And then what other things are you doing in the background? Because we all, as we talk about quite a lot, it's that general marketing mix that will get you success. We one thing that was really nice actually for me was we did so me and Mark, videographer, went out and did a video just before Christmas, and we wanted to do a market update on the different areas that we cover over in Bury, and so it was a bit like ad hoc. We just came up with it, decided to sort of change the background and where I was walking and things like that, and just give an update on how the market's performing. So I've put that out there and launched it into a load of local groups, and it's been viewed quite a lot, and it's had quite a few comments. But yesterday, I booked a valuation off the back of that. Directly off the back of that somebody had watched that particular video, and then that had led them down the rabbit hole of, I'm going to check out the rest of this guy's social media. Then he went onto the Burton James website and stuff like that. Doesn't know anything about us, but locked in off the back of that. So I think doing market updates and doing regular video content,
repurposing basically the not on the market updates, basically that kind of thing.
Essentially, okay, yeah. I think it was just like an annual review of the area, and it took a full day to put together. Don't get me wrong, but it was in December. It was a day that I wanted to fill, and I just wanted to throw a few ideas together. And it was quite raw. We didn't really have a massive plan behind it other than what I wanted to say.
Yeah,
and it just came together quite nicely. But it's gone down really well. So social media is a big thing, isn't it? It's something that I'm going to be pushing even more. I'm going to do more video content this year. That's one of my things. But let's just have let's just have a general chit chat. So, what are you guys looking at this year? What is your plan? Everybody will have different strategies, but what's your main area of focus this year, JK?
Well, I've got a couple really. I mean, obviously, it's to do more. For us this year, it's about hitting that £1 million turnover mark for us from May to May. I mean, our business year runs May to May. And we'll have added, effectively 250k to the previous year, or just under. And for the May, I think now everything you put in for the May moving forward from May 25 to May 26 is about us hitting that sort of £1 million turnover mark. And the only way we're going to do that is by investing in new team members and growing really. So we've hired a new team member who does our creative and social media. If you've listened to the podcast for the last 12 months, let's go. If you listen for the last 12 years, you're doing well, because it's only been going a year. I've battled with brand split, brand stretch, and I think everything is kind of alluded to. I would like to do brand split, but realistically, it's going to work out better for us to. The reality is we're not selling 2-bedroom houses and not getting invited out to £1 million plus houses. The majority of our sales are 600 to 3 million, basically. So we are already there, and if anything, we're picking up the odd 300-400 grander. So it's kind of the other way around. And it's just, knocking off, do we sell that 300 grand house? Do we sell that 400 grand house? And we're going to just do everything, pretty much like Ian does. I think that the benefit of obviously us three working together, doing the TCA, everything that we do, is it keeps standards high for all of us, keeps us accountable. But also from my point of view, as I'm thinking, well, we've now put this in place with the creative person, that our social media game is going to be upped. And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. But doing a brochure on every single house, whether it's a 300-400 grand sort of cute cottage, all the way up to kind of £3.5 million like ultra modern barn conversion, making sure that marketing mix is consistent across the range. I just think it's going to naturally elevate the brand. So what Chloe's doing at the sort of the mid to lower end of what we do, it's going to bring her game up and her quality of properties up. And one of the things that was quite evident, we did a bit of a training session on the first day back in the office, and just ran through the valuation process, and I said, look, listen to the mini series that we've done on the podcast, but then also let's sit down and talk through the process of how to value. So, with a data loft val and how I do mine, I've adapted the process slightly with the map of transactions. And it's not going to mean a lot to people that are listening to this, but if you are interested in learning more about the process, do get in touch with us. But basically, the way that I run the spreadsheet now is I look at, and I think I said this to you guys before, is that when I put the data table together, what I do is I have the min, max, and the average square feet from the last 12 months. Then what I do is I get the square footage of the house I'm going to. So, for example, if it's 2,000 square feet, and then what I then do is put next to it on the spreadsheet below min, max, and average square feet for the area for their square footage. So it's got, if it's a 3,000 square foot house and the minimum that a house has gone for in the area is £300 a square foot, then it's obviously 900. The average is 400, it's 1.2, and the max is 500, and it's 1.5. So what it does is when I sit down with them and go, well, look, in this particular postcode that we've drilled down to, don't bulk at this, please don't, because I'm going to give you 3 figures on the paper here. But this is what the data says. So the data says it could be anywhere from 900 to 1.5. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, your house could be anywhere between 900 and 1.5 million. But what we need to do is the data says if your house was a complete wreck, then it would be probably 900 grand. The reality is your house is super. So it's going to be somewhere between average and max. And what we need to do based on the data is find the right sort of price for us to pitch it at, because this is what the data says. Obviously there's more liquidity at this end of the market. So, if we had hoped to be ambitious, then there's an opportunity for us to, possibly, max out the max. Let's see. But, tell me what would you hope to achieve? And if they say, well, somewhere between those two, happy days. If they say, and again, repeating ourselves like a broken record here, but if somebody then says 1.75, you're going, well, that is right at the top end of what the data says. If you feel like in your heart of hearts when you're sitting there in the lounge that you feel like 1.75, someone might pay it, then that's on you. You can sit there, but you can always go back to the data and say, well, look, the maximum pound per square foot for this. And obviously, if the floor plan comes out, and it's bigger, then we can have that conversation. But, it was really powerful for Chloe the other day because it worked the other way. House that she went to had been on the market last year at 550 with this other agent. And she did the min, max, and the average. And basically, min, max, and average came out that the average house, and this house was quite average, in all honesty, the average price for that house was about 510. And she had to go back to them and say, well, look, this, I'm not here to give you my opinion. This is here just to give you the data so you can make an informed decision. And she said, you might have heard that before. Why did you say that in a Boltonian accent? But it's a great line, Dave. Like, jokes aside, without trying to blow smoke up your backside, it's a great line because that is what we do. We go through the door, you get 4 agents out, you get 4 different opinions. My job isn't to give you my opinion. My job is to present the data and help you make sense of it so you can make an informed decision. And she said, she literally said she came back and they'd agreed to knock it down to offers over 5. And they agreed a plan that if it didn't work at offers over 5, then the next step would be offers over 475. But we probably thought it's probably going to go somewhere between 5 and 510. That's the reality. But that house sat on the market for 20 weeks, 5 months with the other agent in a sole agency contract with not one bit of contact. They had one viewing they didn't even get any feedback on. And the price came, but it was about presenting that data and having that in front of them, presenting it, leaving that on the table. And as we hear it all the time. Oh, have you had this sort of information before? Oh, no, never. We've just seen the best price guide. And it just absolutely helps you. And I realise I've gone off a bit of a tangent here, but I do think it's valuable. I do think it's worth reinforcing that you're not there to value the house. The market values the house. Yeah,
I think it's important to make the point now as well, JK, because even it's a good time to be evaluating all this stuff. It's January. If you're setting yourself up success this year, you can do worse than learning properly how to do data valuations.
Yeah.
You'll massively improve your conversion rate. I mean, one of the things that everybody should have done at the end of last year, and you should be doing it as an ongoing concern, as we know, but certainly at the end of the year, you should be reviewing your statistical data. We had a bit of a session on that in one of the podcasts. But you need to know where you sit in the marketplace. It's not about market share. That's not what I mean. You need to understand where your deficiencies are, where your strengths and weaknesses lie. We talked about it before the year end. But if you've got a really poor conversion rate, don't hide. No. Don't make your figures look fancier than they actually are. Understand what they are. Why is your conversion rate low, and what can you do to improve it? It's not the end. Sometimes it's not the end of the world if it's low. If your pounds and pence are strong, that's amazing. But what a quick tweak of your conversion rate will show is that you can considerably drive revenue, even if it's just 1 or 2%. And
just on that, Dave, just think to put that into context. So if you're going out to 100 houses a year and your average fee is 10 grand and you increase your conversion rate by 1%, that's another 10 grand potentially in the pot.
Yeah. It's such an important factor. And like I say, I think if you're not doing data-driven valuations, I'm yet to meet somebody who hasn't adopted it and said it's changed the game a little bit for me.
Massive.
So it's well worth sort of going off on a tangent, JK, because if you've got conversion issues, or you're the same as every other agent in the town that's doing the same thing, taking out a best price guide, you need to look into data-led valuations and the software out there that you can use.
The reality is that the problem is, though, that like I say to people, is that, and I address the elephant in the room, and I just say, look, any agent could put you on Rightmove. A lot of agents are the same. I think, I'm going to sit here and say a lot of agents, anyone could put you on Rightmove. What is the difference? And it goes back to data again. Our statistics are 88% of everything that we listed to market in the last 12 months, we exchanged contracts on. The average agent in our area was 48%. So again, and that's been consistent over the last 2 years. It might have fluctuated from 85 to 88 or 85 to 80, 88 or whatever. But we've been around that mid to 80%. And it's, do you want to leave moving to a flip of a coin, or do you want a nearly 90% chance of moving home?
Just on that, JK, the fact that you know it is a massive selling point for you as well. It's huge. If you've got that in the room, then you can massively use it to your advantage. So our average time from agreeing a sale to completion is 92 days. The national average is 154 days. So even last night, I was in a valuation last night, and I was chatting to the clients. It's a probate one where they've had like 5 or 6 valuations, and they're now ready to instruct someone. And that is something I really leaned on. It's not just a case of we're going to put your house up for sale and make it look amazing and it sells great. The point of agreeing a sale and getting to completion is the most stressful period you'll go through. It needs to be handled by a professional, and it needs to be handled by someone who is going to chase it regularly and make sure that the solicitors are doing the jobs. Because the example I gave them was, imagine that you've agreed a sale and the seller's solicitor is sat on your solicitor, the seller's solicitor is sat on the draft contracts, and they send them out, and I ring the seller's solicitor and say, have you sent the draft contracts out? And they say yes, and then I do nothing with that information. And then a week later, I ring the buyer's solicitor and I say, have you had the draft contracts? They'll say, no, I've not had them. You've just lost a week.
Yeah.
So it requires a really strong sales progressor to then pick up the phone to the buyer's solicitor, say, John from John Solicitors has just sent your draft contracts. Have you received them? No. All right. Okay. I'll ring John now and get him to resend them and make sure that happens. And then you can date it and say that the draft contracts have been received on that day. It's such an important part of the process.
The longer you leave it, the more chance people have got to change their mind, pull out, things go wrong.
Absolutely.
We had one. We've all had several, I'm sure, but we had one over Christmas that fell through, £1 million one. And the sellers had delayed getting things moving because they hadn't found anywhere. And several times we said to them, you need to get things moving anyway. Just get things moving in the background. We'll deal with the timescale thing further down the line. Don't fuck around. And they did. And it left the buyer feeling a bit uneasy. 2 weeks off over Christmas, buyers changed their mind. just not sure in. I don't feel like it's gonna. You can't do that. You've got to keep things moving along. So you're dead right.
Absolutely.
On the data thing, chaps, I just wanted to say that what I've found is that when I started the company and my average my average percentage of market price achieved was like 103, 104. I used that loads and length on it loads in valuations early on because we were unknown. Then as we got going and became more well-known, our marketing was so stand out that I lent on the marketing a lot more. And now we're finding people copying us more. I'm going back to leaning on the data.
Yeah.
The data is fantastic. I've got this in front of me here, our little data sheet. We get all the data from Gatesy, and me and Phil take this out on Vals. And the numbers are astonishing, really. The speed of sale, the amount we achieve, how much more likely we are to sell. So having all that data to hand is key. The other thing that you need to make sure you're hot on to make you stand out is your service and how good you are at building a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
So going back to your original question, Dave, which was what we're focusing on this year, it's front end. One of the things is front end service and building relationships. So we sat down with the client executives before Christmas and I gave them a list of expectations that the sort of company expectations for their role. And it's things like speed of reply, making sure that everyone gets a reply the same day. Eleanor has overall responsibility for my WhatsApp groups, clients. Megan has them for Phil's, making sure that someone's sweeping that up at 4:00 to make sure that every client's had a response the same day. Not just booking a val, but finding out about the person. So not just how many bedrooms has it got, why are you selling? Have you raised a family there? Why are you looking to move on? It sounds like a really nice place, getting into talk about holidays, pets, building a relationship. So we're going to have a real drive on that this year. And then that's because I want to make sure that we're consolidating and we're consistent with everything. So we had our best year last year. We had an amazing year in terms of revenue, but I don't want to just rely on that. Moving forward this year, Aidan's going to write processes for everything. He's already started. So we can really consolidate and get everything as good as it possibly can be this year. Because I know that competitors are trying to copy us. And I want to make sure that we're as good as we possibly can be across everywhere. And that really starts at the front end, and the service. That's so important. And it's where people slip, I think.
Yeah, I think we always talk about the silver bullet, don't we, with vendors? With homeowners who think, why is my house not selling? It must be the profile of buyer that you're sending around is not right, or it must be the fact that the marketing's not quite right, or does it need to be on other websites? We always talk about the silver bullet for them, saying there's no magic solution. Ultimately, if your marketing's great, it's exposed in all the right areas, communication's great, 99 times out of 100 it's going to be a pricing issue. There's no silver bullet with us. On the flip side, you've got to do the consistent things well, and I think you've got to find your niche as well. I mean, we always talk about your personality coming across on video tours and things like that, which is massively important. But running through your statistical data to understand where your performance lies and where your strengths lie and where your weaknesses are allows you to obviously improve. And as you've alluded to there, Ian, you've got some amazing stats there that make you stand out. I've just been talking about how we can manage to get a house through. On average, we're getting things through 50 days less than the national average. So, how much money does that save somebody in mortgage repayments, council tax payments? How quick does it get them into the new house and stuff like that? So I think that I think doing that exercise now, if you've not already done it, you really need to have a day or two out of your office and just go through it and understand where you're at, and then you can set yourself up for success this year. Because I do feel that the majority of estate agents will come back in the new year and they'll just jump back on the merry-go-round.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I was going to say one of our other big focuses this year, kind of alluded to it before, was growing our social media, and again, that's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and I include YouTube in that as well. We obviously I've hired somebody, a creative person specifically to do content. Obviously that's going to be brochures, copy, but also social media. And she's taken it in a stride. We've already, even before she started, myself and Jack, my videographer in house, we sat down, we strategized. I paid for a couple of courses. We've learned quite a bit. Obviously, I'm sharing bits and pieces with you guys, and I'll share bits with the members in Q1. But to give you an idea of how that has changed, we've been in probably I call it 1,000 view jail on TikTok and Instagram for a little while. And having applied this methodology and using our new style of doing things, the last few videos, so we started off, we gradually increased to about 6,000 on TikTok. Got a couple of videos then at, a cut of 2,000, then one at 12,000, then one at 190,000. And our latest video on TikTok has got 644,000 views, which is really impressive. But what is interesting is that I think TikTok is an easier cookie to crack than Instagram and Facebook. But having applied this methodology to Instagram and Facebook, the last few videos we've had on Instagram, again, we normally average anywhere between 500 and 1,000, but now we're looking at 2.5, 2.8, 3, and it's kind of increased gradually, then 4. And our most viewed video recently is 216,000 on Instagram. We've gained 500 followers in about 3 weeks. It's really good, and I think it's only going to. Well, I know it's only going to grow having that person there because I put her on the course, and we're really thinking about how we deliver our videos and our social media videos, and these are the things I'm going to share with our members at quarter one mastermind this year in is it March or April now? I think if we set the date.
March, early March.
Early March, isn't it? Is it 3rd of March?
If you want to book on the TCA mastermind this March.
It's in my diary, but just going off the top of my head. But it's one of the things I've got down to share and go through. And it's so much more. Rather, obviously the quality of what you produce and you put that out there is super important. The audio is important, but there is so much more behind it that you need to apply in order to get the results. And then obviously on the flip side of that, people saying things like, what's a comment that I've had? Oh, I didn't take his shoes off inside the house. When clearly I did take my shoes off. Like I'm clearly wearing white trainers on the outside of the front and inside wearing black socks. You should take your shoes off. And then I literally responded and said, look, we're...
Go away.
But yeah, basically. I said, look, I did take my shoes off. Like I was white outside. And even somebody else, like a random member of the public came to my rescue and just said... he clearly took his shoes off. And anyway, you're going to get some vile comments from people. But if I was you, and the way that I looked at it is leave them on there for a little while the video's fresh and the video's new, because people read through the comments, and reading through the comments is going to get you more engagement and get you more people looking at your video. So I use them for the first week or two, and then when I go in, I just delete everyone else and block them from the page if they're an idiot. So it is what it is. So yeah.
Well, JK, can I just mention something just before I forget? One of the other things we're going to focus on is just around our not on the market and on the market letters that we send. So we're going to refine them even further to be more specific with who we send them to. Yeah. So, for example, currently we send a Northwich or Tarporley area market update out.
Yeah.
And having learned really from David Warburton, who you might have heard of,
no, who's that?
We're going to refine it more to the villages, more to the specific areas.
Yeah.
And get more detailed on the data for those particular areas. And I'm sure that'll improve the conversion of those. The other thing we're going to refine with the letters is the addresses that we send them to. So we already send 5,500, but we only send them to houses that have got names.
Yeah.
Because there's loads around here that have got names. We haven't been sending them to the houses that have got numbers. So we're going to do that as well. We're going to start sending them to houses that have got numbers because there's a lot of nice houses that have got numbers as well. So we're going to try and refine our direct mail output. I mean, we already get really good results, but I want to get better results. So that's one of the things we're going to be...
Again, you're getting great results. You've had a great year, but you're still looking at what is going to... Mm-hmm. You can't just sit still.
No.
So
you can't, because that's when you start going downhill.
Yeah, of course. Taking it for granted.
Yeah.
No, I like that, mate. I like that.
I'm going to have more holidays this year as well, Dave.
Oh, for God's sake. I'm going to take one.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think I had one holiday last year. That's it. One holiday and a lads' weekend. So I've got my lads' weekend coming up in February. I've got
the lads' weekend is booked, but the family holiday's not.
I've got a couple of other family holidays booked as well this year. I have. I think. Well, I suppose it leads nicely into what my plans are. I need to recruit. So I'm going to take on a couple of positions this year. I was talking to you lads about changing office this year as well. I've been in the same office for 8 years. We've outgrown it, and realistically, I can't grow much further without moving office. So that's something else that I want to do. But the two key positions for me are going to be bringing in someone to value and give me some support, certainly on the mid-range brand, lower to mid-range brand. And also I need to bring videography and photography in-house. Again, I'm assuming it's natural and everybody does it, but I know they don't. But when you review your accounts and things like that at the end of the year, you quickly learn where you're spending too much money. And where you can bring things in-house. And one thing we spend a lot of money on, and it's on the back of being successful, I suppose, is photography and videography. So that is something that we can, just doing a really basic overview of that, we could half the costs of that by bringing it in-house. So, you bring somebody in full-time, and you not only do you have more scope, you get to save money at the same time. So I think it'll improve the business, but it'll also save money as well. That's something else. So yeah, that's something that I'm going to be doing this year.
Good.
Oh,
I'm sure we had this conversation a year ago.
Great chat.
But yes, I mean, for me, social media carry on to grow in terms of team members. We're definitely going to need at least one more person this year. I think I mentioned to you off air, Dave, when we were talking about it before, that I've got plans to sort of restructure internally, bring other people over, and just generally grow. I mean, looking at what, having been at Stories and seen how the dynamic works there, I think, we're very much going to emulate a lot of, success leaves clues, isn't it? So, having a similar format and formula, I think if I want to get to where we want to get to in terms of financially, that's seems a logical way to go. But I mean, the importance behind the financials is it's not just about making that sort. Yes, it's a nice milestone, but behind that, it's all about building a team with purpose, and being able to enjoy and do what I want to do in the business and do what I'm good at in the business, stick to listing and selling houses, having, Chloe behind me to do, listing and selling houses as well, much like Ian does with Phil. Ian and Phil both list, me and Chloe both list. We both do what we're good at, and then we have other people in other roles to focus on what they're good at. You've got Holly, you've got Scott, I've now got Becca and Jack. You've obviously got Vicky. Like, hopefully Sandra is going to be a Vicky at some point, and then she's currently Michelle. So we'll take on a Michelle. And it just, you look at how it runs. We'll probably need an Aidan at some point to glue it all together. But for me, one of the things I've certainly learned in the last 3 to 5 years is that building a business around what you like doing, and what you're good at, filling those weaker part of the role. I could do social media, I could do copy, I could do stuff, but if I'm doing those things, I'm not doing what I'm best at, which is earning money for the business at the front end by going out and generating the business, doing evaluations, sometimes doing viewings. Again, I've stepped back from that as well. I just think one of the things that I think TCA offers a lot of people is the keys to the castle in some ways. The secrets to what having a successful property business in the mid to high end entails. And it's not just about sending letters out; it's everything that comes behind that. How do you do a valuation with somebody at the mid to high end? How do you get that house on the market? How do you sell it? And what do you do to continually move forward. And then
and how do you do that multiple times a week, a month, to have the turnover at the end of the year?
Exactly.
Because the turnover that we did last year was incredible, and it's because of the whole team. There's no way you can do that kind of numbers without having the team there. So getting the right team in place is vital. But you're right about TCA. A lot of members ask us those questions, don't they? How do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do that? And we can help structure it, can't we?
Well, we've templated it. You know, we're all at different parts in our journey. That's the other thing. You know, I've got like partner agents. I've had partner agents, so I can help advise people on that. You know, you guys have got a strong team, and you know, you've kind of almost a finished article in terms of like the team that you've built and the guys you've got behind you, you know, and Dave's kind of between us, if that makes sense. Like you've got that you've got that brand split, you've got a super successful like mid to low end business and a mid to high end business. You know, you've gone from a standing start in 2 years, and I effectively, arguably, rinsed what some people do in 10 years, you know, in 2 years from a cold start. So, you know, I think each pillar of TCA, which I think why it works so well, is that we can all offer different things and different advice, but as we combine into one, we hit a wide demographic. You know, there's people in TCA that, you know, are what's the best way to put it? I was going to say one person operator. But then also there's multi-million pound like people in the TCA. You know, there's a good spread. Everyone can get something out of it. I just feel like it's turned into an advert there, but it wasn't intended to be an advert. It was just more of just thinking about it. Well, because our website's going to be ready soon. We are going to be on a drive for new members this year. And we've got lots booked in. I just think that it was worth mentioning, you know, the whole what is on offer, without it turning into an advertorial. But anyway, went on a bit of a I love tangents, don't I? Just call me Mr. Tangent.
Well, me and Story have just been out for a beer. Came back and you.
Did you film it, Dave?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did. You're obviously referring to my market update video where
Did you market update video?
Yes, it was great, wasn't it? Unbelievable. What a response. You should all do them. Just going back a step, you touched on brand split and brand stretch, which is something I think we've probably covered to death in the podcast series. But once again, we're at the start of a new year. I don't think we'll ever make apologies for sort of repeating stuff, because ultimately that's what a estate agency is. It's remaining consistent and doing the same things well. But I think with brand stretch, brand split, I think that is obviously going to be one of the key questions for people and key concerns when they are thinking about moving into the high end. You know, my view is that I think I've actually just recently not changed my view, but maybe adjusted it slightly with my own personal situation. But I feel like going back to having a look at how you look, that is obviously the major thing at the start of any year. I think you've got to look at how do we look? What is our target audience? What do our target audience expect? What do they want to find? When they land on our website, can they resonate with what their house is, etc.? Obviously, we've talked about yours, JK. I mean, you have been deliberating between brand split and brand stretch for a while.
Yeah.
You know, my personal opinion is we've had plenty of conversations about this privately, but I think with your brand, it's always been capable of brand stretch because you've got a very, very good brand. The name is you. Same with Ian, Stories of Cheshire. You know, it's a great brand name. It's a great brand. So I think it's easy not easy, but when you've got that already, that infrastructure in place, I think you can comfortably brand stretch as long as you start adopting the right principles. And you know, you're going through Ian's spoken about this a lot, but going through that tough period where you have to turn houses down and really focus on what you want to become. So you need to look like what you want to become. For me, so obviously we've talked about my journey before and where I started and the brand name that I have on my mid-range brand. I just always knew it was never going to be the way to quickly break into the top end market, which is why I rebranded completely and started a new one for the mid to upper end. And then I've just recently been thinking about where I want to take my lower and mid range brand. We're actually going to rebrand it all anyway, as you know. I've shared a few of the concepts with you. So we're in the process of doing that because I think it needs a refresh.
Same name, new brand.
Same name, just rebranding. It's been the same for 8 years, so I feel it just needs a refresh. It looks a bit dated and stuff. But I've started thinking about what do I want to attract on that brand? What do I want it to look like? How is it going to operate? And it started opening up all these different conversations for me. And just because you've got two separate brands, like, because I know a lot of people have this conversation before they speak to us at TCA. What I've started to think about and realize is it doesn't mean that I can't stretch the other brand. So like my Burton James brand is obviously my unique and prestige. But it doesn't have to be unique and prestige. So I'm currently looking at that at the moment. But it doesn't have to be unique and prestige. Like we sold a £375,000 house on Burton James at the start of last year. But it was an absolute beautiful house. You know, it was an old sort of 1930 semi that had been done up to a really, really high standard. So if you'd seen the finish in £1 million house, it would have been befitting of it. And the same, we had another one not too far from that one that was just under $500,000. And as you've said, Ian, plenty of times that's where the gold is. And when you present the way we present, it's easier to command the 2% fees when you're doing it consistently well. So I think from a personal point of view, I feel like I'm going to stretch Burton James even further, but I've still got the option of taking on a diverse range of properties on the other brand. So it gives you that opportunity to cover a lot of the market, in my opinion. But from my own experience, you need to. You can't get consumed in both too much because it just becomes too much. Hence why I'm trying to recruit. So there you go.
I'm going to tweak my brand as well. That's the other thing. I'm going to tweak my existing brand slightly with the lettering, and I just think it's the font. What do you think? What do you think to the font? Like my font
needs tweaking.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your
No, you're welcome.
Dave, anything else to add? Do you think it needs tweaking?
If I were you, I'd close down.
Huh?
I would close down.
Close down.
I think the comment that you received on social media saying you were boring is accurate.
Yeah.
I would close down.
Shall I rebrand? We also locate. Coming soon to Bedfordshire.
No, on a serious note, I remember having a conversation with Ian about 3 years ago because you were considering a complete rebrand, I think, weren't you?
We were considering a brand split.
Brand split, yeah. And I personally said, look, from the outside looking in, I think it looked amazing. Your brand, I don't think you need to do it. And obviously, you redid your website and you didn't. You just went for brand stretch. I feel the same about yours, JK. I think you've got a great brand and it just needs probably a bit of tweaking, that's all. And then,
do you know what that was, Dave? Now, looking back, 3 years ago, we were only like 2.5 years old. 2 years old. So we were still young. I mean, we're still young now, but we were even younger then. And it's over the last 2 or 3 years that we've really managed to consolidate both ends of the market, so the mid and the higher under the same brand. Yeah. Early on, I was thinking, I want more higher end stuff. But it wasn't the brand. It was just the outgoing marketing and it was just the company being a bit more mature and people having more faith in us.
Yeah.
So it's
really great point, though. Great point. Because there was a couple of subtle changes that you made that really elevated you.
You tweaked your brand, though, didn't you?
Yeah, we tweaked the brand, got rid of Story Estates and just had stories, changed the colour of green to a classier green, and ramped up our marketing with letters. And that's now, obviously, those few things have paid off, and I wouldn't even consider doing a brand split now, knowing what I know now.
So I think that's going to be our thing where we tweak our colours slightly, and it's the font as well, because our font at the moment kind of says to me like young, fresh, modern, that kind of thing. Whereas what it needs to say is a bit more classic and contemporary. And
it needs a tweak.
Yeah. Just say tweak again.
Have you considered a new font?
No, that's innovative. That is. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Oh, excellent. Thanks for your input.
Maybe I would consider tweaking the brand and a new font.
Yeah.
And then
Times New Roman.
I can recommend a lady called Jenny Tulip.
Speaking to her next Monday.
Yeah, give her a call. She's great.
No, I genuinely am.
Just don't do that until she's finished doing my new page.
Oh, well, she's got me in first, I think.
And she's also got to finish the complete agent and Dave's.
Yeah.
So when all that's happening, you're welcome to speak to
hopefully, by 2028, our new tweaked brand, I can say that word in there again.
Maybe just cut all that out because I don't want Jenny going anywhere. She works exclusively for us, and that is it.
But yeah, cool. All right, well, it seems like a good place to call it.
Yes, straight back in the new year, there's lots to do. As I said, we've just wanted to have a chit-chat today, find out what plans were for the year. I'm sure everybody's busy now, trying to fill the diary with valuations and sales. As JK alluded to, we've got our mastermind coming up in March. So if you've been following the podcast throughout 2024 and you want to learn a bit more about what it's all about, please do get in touch with myself, JK, or Ian. We're more than happy to discuss that with you. The mastermind sessions are great. It's when non-compete agents are all in the same room with a structured day that we follow. And there's loads of advice and help. And that's what we're here for, to support you on your journey if you're looking to try and break into the mid to high end market. So please do reach out to us if it's something that you are considering doing it in 2025. We have got a new website coming. It's almost finished, where more information will be available. And like I say, we're all accessible, so please do get in touch. Anything to add, gents, before we call it?
No, all good. Looking forward to next week already. And we'll see you next week.
Fantastic. Thanks for listening, guys. See you next week.
Bye.